Thank you, Krishnapani ji. There's some questions. Janki Ram has a couple of questions.
Yeah, let me go through it. Janaki Ramji, what is the influence of gunas on becoming and being? What is the influence of differing proportion of collective gunas on becoming and being? Okay, see, basically, manifestation is said to be an interplay of the gunas. Manifestation itself is an interplay of the gunas. And that is in one way the first derivative of Prakriti. The gunas are the first derivative of Prakriti. In the avyakta Prakriti, in the unmanifest Prakriti only, the gunas are in their pure form. Anything that is manifested is always a combination of these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. Sattva represents dynamic equilibrium. Rajas represents the inequilibrium related through activity. The disequilibrium, I would say, caused on account of activity. And tamas is the inactive state in which there is no element of equilibrium at all. So these three factors, they come into play in different proportions, and they are the ones for the whole manifestation of becoming. The gunas have no play or no place in being. That's why the Bhagavad Gita says, Nistraigunyo bhava. Become somebody who has gone beyond the trigunas. Triguna-atita. Nistraigunyo bhava Arjuna. He says you become Nistraigunya. That means you have to transcend this play of the gunas. Then only the being is there. As long as the gunas are there, it is only becoming, and there is no question of being. Only when you transcend the gunas, then only there is what is called as being. So that is the influence. If you say gunas are only there for the becoming part of it, for the samsara or the world as we find in manifestation is concerned. And obviously, we all contribute collectively to the gunas of all the activities of the world. So, consciously, unconsciously, through our own actions, including our thoughts and words, we are giving a collective representation to these gunas. And if things are going from bad to worse, it obviously means that there is a disproportionate concentration of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. The Rajoguna and Tamoguna, when they acquire a disproportionate share in the collective of all the three gunas, there will be calamity in this world. There will be chaos in this world. There will be disruption in this world. So the equilibrium has to be restored. A dynamic equilibrium has to be restored. And that is the process of nature. See, nature is much larger. Nature is much more powerful. And that's what it has done. By keeping people stuck in their homes for the past 3-4 months now, we have been told that the lakes have become clean, forests have become much more, green, and wildlife has come into their own habitat. Don't we see all these things? I think whoever has WhatsApp will get all these messages where they have shown that things are cleaner, things are better, things are, slowing down. And this is what nature wants us to do. Our nature is compelled to bring about this equilibrium when we are contributing to the disequilibrium and the inequilibrium part. So that is, again, whenever you are talking about gunas, and whether it is individual or collective, It is all in the space of becoming only, and the being is untouched by the gunas. The three gunas, the being is absolutely, it cannot touch, the three gunas cannot touch being. I hope I have
No,
answered.
but being is not possible without becoming. You can't directly go to being.
No. See, the problem is simple. You are already in becoming. You are already in becoming. There is, you are the only place, the only alternative available to you is to go to being. You are in being. You are in becoming as such, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are in becoming, whether by chance, by choice, or by compulsion, or whatever it is. We are in becoming.
No, sorry. My question, and after your clarification of gunas, unless more and more of humanity becomes sattvic, being is not possible. Or from tamas you can go to being, rajas to being is my question.
No. The point is, see, there are two dimensions to it. Forget about the collective, forget about the world, everybody else. It is that inner flowering in you. Is it essentially that goodness? That the sattvic aspect of it? Because that is going to immensely contribute not only to your own self, but to the world also. So, see, when this kind of question was put to Jiddu Krishnamurti, he said very clearly, he stated that I am not a part of this world as you understand. I have no role to play. I don't play any role. I don't contribute to this nonsense at all. That is my state of being. So you can be that. And again, I wish to remind the participants, I think I have repeated it several times earlier also, that Ramana Maharshi very clearly said, greatest contribution and greatest service to society, to this world you can do is to become a self-realized person. Several people asked, what about the world? What about this? What about that? To Ramana Maharshi, and he laughed it and then said, see, there is somebody to take care of the world. Don't bother. You believe in a God? Now that God will take care of this world. Don't bother about that. Bother about yourself first. Don't talk in terms of what to do, what not to do outside, how to do what not. All that is immaterial. Because whenever you are operating from a fragmented mind, from a limited perspective, you cannot contribute to the true goodness of the world, true goodness of the evolutionary process. Whatever you do is going to only damage things and is not going to add anything good. Unless that flowering of goodness is in you, that flowering of goodness happens in you. Unless that happens, whatever you contribute is only going to bring about greater entanglement, greater confusion, greater misery, and greater sorrow. That is the fundamental issue which we have to recognize from a spiritual point of view. That is why the spiritual dimension and the transcendental dimension become the most important. That is the reason why I keep saying also, see, if we go deeper and deeper into this subject, I am sure the number of participants will go on reducing and it will come down. We are not here for popularizing ideas. We are here for bringing about a personal transformation. When we talk about the core objective of Ritambhara, whether you like it or not, unless there is that personal transformation in you, unless there is that radical transformation in you, you will be only doing some readjustments around yourself. See, you have a limited space in a room and it's already filled with a lot of furniture. What can you do? You can move this table from here to there, that chair from here, there to here, this bed from the one corner to other corner. Beyond this, you can't do anything. Can you blast the walls? That is what is required. You have to blast the walls. You have to demolish all the walls. That is the personal transformation we are talking about. So that has to be brought about. Otherwise, what happens is minor adjustments can be made, minor changes can be brought about. Some readjustments in our own character, in our behavior, in our talking, in our interactions, in our relationships. All these things can be brought about. Small changes here and there. But they are not true changes. They are deceptive changes. One is only trying to adapt to the environment and react or respond appropriately to the environment. One is not bringing about any transformation within himself or within the environment in which he is operating. That is the important thing to be recognized. So as I have put, I think Janaki Ramji would remember, I have put this question in several of the sessions we did in the School of Ancient Wisdom also. Are you curious or are you serious? First answer this question. Let each one of put that question to oneself and find truly answer to oneself whether one is curious and going about doing window shopping, or is it one is serious and wants to take his life into his own hands and reach a point where he is able to realize the truth of the oneness of life and oneness of consciousness and the unity of things. Unless that transformation comes, nothing much is going to happen. There is some chat. Quantum leap means high intensity to become pure, compatible to ultimate reality, to the being of oneness kindly. See, quantum leap is basically you are going from one dimension to another dimension actually. See, I was somewhere else, I was talking about these two terms also, paradigm shift and quantum leap. The paradigm shift, paradigm means a model. Paradigm means a pattern. Are you simply shifting the pattern within the field of the known? Or is there a jump from this field of the known into the unknown? That is the quantum leap. We have had enough of paradigm shifts. Enough of thinking and enough of experts have talked about paradigm shift in politics, in sociology, in cultural, this thing, in every dimension of life, they have talked about this paradigm shift. But as I said, that is like only rearranging the furniture in the room. That shift is not sufficient. It has to be a quantum leap into the unknown. You have to take a quantum leap into something which is beyond the spatio-temporal framework within which we are operating. That's a timeless dimension. You are into a dimension of timelessness. So that is the quantum leap one has to take. Otherwise, what happens is you are only doing, as I said, readjusting things here and there. And as the questioner has rightly put, see, basically here, in order to take a quantum leap, you require tremendous amount of energy. You know what happens to this when, ISRO launches this spacecraft and all, there is something called as people with even normal background of science know that there is something called as escape velocity. Escape velocity is something close to about 12 kilometers per second or something. You have to attain that kind of speed in order to go out of the gravitation field of the Earth and go into outer space. So they have, because it can't be started at the ground level, you can't achieve it. They have boosters and boosters and boosters. And a threshold will come where it will achieve the escape velocity and then simply go into outer space. So that is the build-up one should have, and for which one requires tremendous amount of energy. It's not easy. See, the reason for all this is that why we fail repeatedly when it comes to the spiritual aspect of our own being is we do not have that energy. We do not bring that energy to the whole thing. And we are satisfied with minor changes in our own life. And we are more satisfied by being mediocre. I'm reasonably good, reasonably honest, reasonably well doing, reasonably this. That's all mediocrity. How do you expect a mediocre to survive, to attain that escape velocity, to take that quantum leap? So that intensity comes through our understanding of the factors involved. As I said, do you see the ocean of becoming as true in my own life? And do you perceive the unity of life? Do you perceive the oneness of the whole cosmos? The ocean and the sky. Even symbolically, if you ponder over these things, it should give you some amount of clarity. And when you operate with that clarity will bring purity. And when that purity is there, then you will be able to have that attention. Attention as against concentration. Concentration is exclusive by nature, whereas attention is all-inclusive. So we're not talking about concentration or focusing on one point or anything of that sort. We're talking about an attention which is unbroken, continuous, avichinna, as Adi Shankara puts it. So that attention, when it is there, that attention itself will untangle all the knots of life, all the knots of samsara, and that is what is truly liberating, where we realize that oneness of the being.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krishnapani ji. Thank you.
I don't know, Beena ji, I don't know, because I progressively, because we are at the 25th webinar,
right.
I didn't want, I deliberately wanted the subject to be profound.
Oh.
I'm not talking about minor changes, minor issues, minor aspects of life and minor problems, how to get rid of this, how to get rid of that. See, there's no getting rid of it.
Right.
Whatever you do will be a temporary thing and a palliative. It is neither permanent nor curative by nature. So you have to address the problem at its root. And therefore, that is the reason why I said one has to put a question to oneself and give a very honest answer to it, whether we are simply curious or are we serious. That's what is required.
No, thank you, Krishnapani ji. I know it's personal transformation is a big part of what we want to do with Ritambara. And also, as Jiddu Krishnamurti says, that you are the environment, you know. So if you don't transform, then don't expect any transformation anywhere else around you. So yeah. I think, no, you're absolutely right. And I think we need to all be shaken up to understand that it's imperative that we need to do it, and we need to do it now. Thank you so much. And thank you for that lovely last closing sentence, which is, are you curious or are you serious? So I think we'll take that with us, and we can sort of close with that. But I would just like to tell you all that we have some very nice programs coming up as well. We have on Sunday 19th, we will have yoga as usual at 7 o'clock. But on 21st July, we have Sun Yogi Uma Shankar ji, who will be talking to us on Sun Yoga and its benefits. I'm sure we've heard a lot about Swamijis and sages that actually just live off the air and live off the heat of the sun and things like that. We're actually going to meet somebody like that. So let's, please join us on the 21st, Tuesday at 7 p.m. to meet such a Swamiji. And he's going to explain to us the benefits of the Sun Yoga and what he has personally done himself. On Friday, 24th, we have Dr. Jolene Fernandez from Goa, who's going to be talking to us on nutrition for weight management. I'm going to upload all these, we're going to shortly upload everything on our usual communication groups and WhatsApp groups. So please look forward to that. And we look forward to seeing all of you for the 3 programs coming up. Thank you again for your presence and participation from all of us at Ritambara. Thank you, Krishna Pani-ji, for such an impactful, session. And it is a lot to take in, and a lot that we have to actually make these personal commitments to, in improving our lives and those of others as well. So with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for being here.